Hello again and welcome to Pearl Magazine. The pandemic may not be ending anytime soon, and overseas travel could still be a distant dream for Hong Kongers. The only options left seem to be in our own backyard. The good news is most hiking trails are never far away. The bad news is the surge in path-hopping hikers is leaving a trail of rubbish and damage in their wake. NGOs and volunteers have started a cleanup of our distressed countryside. They also offer some advice on how we can take better care of our green spaces.
In recent years, I have started catching some erupted trails, piles of rubbish, increasing number of hikers.
Hikers open up new shortcuts to take scenic photos, thereby destroying the vegetation.
When you go beyond the trail and you may not have an idea about what actually in front of you, that would be a cliff.
呢個有好多餐盒膠樽同埋呢個飲品嚟。
Do you need to pay to go to Disneyland? Remove this rubbish, and that's the price we need to pay. We came to enjoy. Why litter and pollute the environment? We are collecting rubbish on the Fushan Mountain Trail on Lantau Island. We're just getting started, and the trail is already littered with plastic bottles and trash.
58-year-old Sin Lik Kao formed a volunteer cleanup team via social media 3 years ago. Now they set out at least 3 days a week. Over the past year, hiking has become the first choice of outdoor activity among Hong Kong people. With swarms of people comes mountains of trash.
In the wilderness, there's more trash because cleaners can't reach here due to the rugged terrain. The trail is difficult. Most people sweat a lot and keep wiping it off. Due to the pandemic, many people hike with their mask on, and the mask gets wet very soon, but that shouldn't be the reason to litter.
Since 2017, the government has removed rubbish bins inside country parks. This is to encourage hikers to carry away their own trash. Sin says over the past year, as more people have gone outdoors to hike, they litter wherever and whenever they can't find a trash bin. Some throw rubbish into the bush, which makes it difficult to clean up.
Many people realize they shouldn't litter in the countryside, so when they throw it away, they throw it where others can't see it. As if nothing happened. It's just cheating oneself.
Sin says if no one cleans up the rubbish, they'll be washed into the sea when it rains and then become marine refuse in the end. In order to prevent this, he collects rubbish frequently before the rainy season comes.
People cannot leave Hong Kong for vacation now. They're stuck without a destination. So the outdoors and nature heal us. But as we heal ourselves, nature needs some healing too. Stop polluting.
Every time after a cleanup, Sin contacts different government departments in the hope they'll send more people to clean up. But Sin's biggest headache is when departments pass the buck to each other, leading to rubbish being left to rot in remote areas.
Different departments handle different trash. Some are handled by the Marine Department, some the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department, and others by the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department. But the fact is trash is trash.
The AFCD says there were 12 million visitors to country parks in 2020. During this period, 2,300 metric tons of litter were collected. The number of prosecutions for damage to plants, illegal fires, and the unauthorized driving of bicycles or vehicles hit a 3-year high last year. On the front lines of the problem are the people living in the countryside.
Here are some 100 aluminum cans and over 100 plastic bottles. Most are dumped by visitors after they're consumed at the convenience store.
Hoi Ngai Man is running a convenience store in Chengsheng, a tiny mountain village in rural Saikung. Because there's no garbage collection or recycling in the hills, every weekend, Hoi has to carry the litter downhill. Then he returns uphill with some food and drinks for his store. It's a 2-hour round-trip journey.
I'm preparing beverages for the weekend, mostly soft drinks and water. 3 packs into 2 bags. Each bag weighs 15 kilograms.
Hoi has been living in Chengsheng with his parents since he was a child. He's been walking this trail for decades. The growing popularity of hiking has impacted the trail in recent years. Sometimes it even led to hill fires.
In the past, people only took the stairs, but then they walked on the side of the track because it's easier, so a new path is formed. Some people accidentally started forest fires. It is not good for nature.
Located in western Saikung, Chengsheng is a junction of many trails. Hoi's convenience store serves as an important supply station for hikers. His business has jumped over 20% during the pandemic.
I'm making soybean milk made from the mountain stream water.
Mountain stream tofu pudding is Hoi's signature dish. On the weekend, he manages to sell more than 100 bowls a day.
After a tough hike, many people reward themselves with tofu pudding.
Hoi says the flavor of his tofu pudding hasn't changed for decades, but the same cannot be said for the surroundings.
Hong Kongers are interesting. They're like a swarm of bugs. If an unknown spot is discovered, suddenly it will become popular and many people will visit.
In this privately owned grassland in front of the store, many people can camp here. This brings more business for Hoi, but also a lot of trouble.
Campfires leave charcoal. Then the charcoal damages the grass. If the soil is turned over and added with new soil, grass may have the potential to grow again. But more people are walking on it. You can see the human impact. They gather and camp here. At a table or a few chairs, those objects can damage the land's surface and the grass roots are killed.
It used to
Over the past year, we've seen some new hikers enjoying Hong Kong nature for the first time. But their mentality has been like a consumer's.
Vivian Chung is a director of an environmental organization. She says with more people visiting the countryside, the capacity of some trails has reached a tipping point. But the recovery rate is far slower than the rate of damage.
Macleho's Trail is well known as a 100-kilometer hiking trail. Currently, only around half of the pathway, especially the slopes, remain natural. Water and soil loss and intensified hiking lead towards this consequence.
To preserve the country parks, in 2018, Vivian worked with the AFCD and formed a volunteer team. The plan is to repair various trails, including the Maclehouse Trail, but it's been suspended due to the pandemic. On this day, Vivian and some volunteers head out to Section 10 of the Maclehouse Trail to check its condition.
How can we stop the further loss of water and soil? We may try building some lock dams to dredge the water as well as lock the soil.
The Tai Lam Chung Reservoir, known to many as Thousand Islands, has become a popular vista point over the past few years. Section 10 leads there. Vivian says some people climb over the observation deck, making a new path to take photos. That destroys the vegetation and causes erosion.
你都見到，即使動咗個牌咧，大家都係會越過去。可能係踩得多，咁然之後咧就係嗰啲。
All the walking plus natural erosion have loosened the soil.
係幼化咗。呢條路咧好似。
It's as if this trail is the entrance of a construction site where dump trucks pass by. The soil on the ground is loosened, and sand covers the plants.
The government pledged to develop 10 trails, including a new one to pass through Thousand Islands over the next 5 years to attract tourists. But Vivian thinks the government should take into account the maximum capacity of the trails.
In the budget is set aside money for countryside conservation and improvement. Or do they just want to attract more visitors? When you attract more visitors, how do you minimize the impact to the natural surroundings? The government should figure it out ahead of time.
Welcome back. Stranded in Hong Kong since the pandemic, many have taken to the countryside on weekends for a break from city living. But as they swarm the trails of our country parks, they bring with them a throwaway mindset that's harming the environment. Our reporters met with experts, volunteers, and NGOs to see if there's a solution to this scourge.
This morning, Edmund and some of his friends are preparing to visit the Dragon's Back on Hong Kong Island. 5 years ago, he set up a website to share the beautiful views of the city's hiking trails and other information. Recently, the images he posts look a little different.
A few years before, I was mainly taking photos of Hong Kong's beautiful mountain. But in recent years, I have started capturing some eruptive trails. Some people bad behavior like piles of rubbish, increasing number of hikers.
Amid the pandemic, Hong Kong's hiking trails have become popular, especially during weekends. Dragon's Back is one of the most well-known trails in the city. Edmund says his website usually gets more visitors on holidays, which means more people are preparing for their rural outings. And this means more problems. A year ago, Edmund and his partner Terry started using a drone to record footage of the trails. To their surprise, many of them have been damaged more seriously than they expected.
This hiking trail is easy and the view is nice, so the damage is more severe because it's popular.
They say the behavior of the visitors damages the slopes and puts the visitors at risk.
I have seen some people standing very close to the cliff. I want to remind them these activities are very dangerous and very selfish. They may slip and fall when they go down the trails. They may crash the tree, and if they hold the tree too tight, the branches may break. The situation will get worse.
Edmund says it's frustrating to see these stunning mountain views with all the damage. He's decided to share less hiking information because he doesn't want to encourage more people to go into the countryside, putting more pressure on the hiking trails.
On one hand, I want more people to know more about Hong Kong hiking trails. But on the other hand, if more people go to the mountain, may mean more potential damage. It is a conflict.
It takes time for the trails to recover. Edmund hopes that his footage of the degraded mountains can remind people to treat nature better.
There are too many visitors visiting a country park in Hong Kong, and more than half of them involve different type of walking or hiking activities. And I think too many people, and probably the width of the trail may not be sufficient to cater such large volume of visitors, and they create their own path and visit the place.
Professor Ng has been doing geography research in Hong Kong for more than 25 years. He says many people have little idea about the long-term consequences from trail erosion.
If the trail is degraded, that may create different problems like safety, slippery surface, and that will affect the travel experience on the trail. And the eroded soil may wash and then deposit in reservoir or to the sea, and will create the sedimentation and cause some environmental problem. And also, if there are too many people visit the trail and country park, that will cause the disturbance to the wildlife.
In recent years, he's seen many people go beyond the trails just to get some good photos. He's worried about the risks.
Some people may be interested in explore the new area, and especially in the recent days, people want to take some special photo for themselves, tag themselves in some landmark, a beautiful landscape, and they tended to go beyond the trail to find some new experience. When you go beyond the trail and you may not have an idea about what actually in front of you, there will be a cliff. The surface may be slippery, and then you know what will happen. You don't get prepared.
The professor believes public education is needed.
If you go out to the countryside and nobody watch over you, you can do what you want and nobody will catch you, basically, in most of the time. So rely on your goodwill or rely on your own behavior to protect the trail. And I think definitely the environmental awareness should be improved. Organizing public forum to educate people and arrange some public engagement activities, let them know the importance of trail and let them know the value of the countryside. And if they treasure the countryside, and they may perform accordingly.
One conservationist noticed that over the past few decades, many people are taking their urban lifestyle into country parks.
I saw one couple, just two people, they bring their car and two camps, luxury style of camp, just for two people. They move that kind of enjoyment to the natural environment and, putting in loudspeakers and car riding into a place that is not designed for vehicle. That kind of damage is totally uncontrolled. It's being over-trumped by campers or hiker. A lot of people had the opportunity to go somewhere else, but now people cannot fly elsewhere, so they jam into places that they don't normally go.
She says these rural areas are mostly animal habitats, and too much human behavior could cause damage in ecologically delicate areas. In the end, the wildlife will be affected too.
The green layer completely gone, so the animal, at the first place, they already not very rich in their living resources, and now it's completely gone. So they are heavily relying on human feeding. Since the land fall into desertification, it's very hard to recover. It needs perhaps quite a lot of money, and you need to close the sites completely in order to help the compost layer regrow. 啲大葉咧就咁樣搣開佢，咁佢就有牛薯片之稱啦。
Grass Island in northeast New Territories is one of the main habitats of local wild cows. Ho says the recent camping surge has left the animals starving. Ho and other concerned volunteers have to collect grass from the rural areas in Sai Kung and bring the grass to feed them by hand.
We start training volunteers since 2012 to give education to the frontline tourists and helping separate the animal from the people and stopping them feeding the animal.
Ho takes photos of the cows and checks their health every time she comes to visit. A few times she found plastic bags in their dung and believes it's the result of human feeding.
If the natural resources is not there, they will go back to human feeding. When they have human feeding, that means they will continue eating plastic bags. that will kill them quite quickly. So in the winter for Grass Island, by noon, we already know 2 cows being killed or die in unknown causes, which we believe is from overeating plastic bags.
Ho says these places rely on volunteers to repair the erosion in the area. She hopes the public can also give a helping hand.
We have put in quite a lot of effort to teach our volunteer and other people. Every time when we go to Grass Island or places with desertification, we also use the cow dung, which is the best thing, to cover the sandy layer of the soil. If they cover the layer thick enough, then underneath they can regrow the compost layer. Then we can grow the plant in it when water comes back.
She suggests the government restrict camping to only campsites listed under the Country Parks Ordinance, not in a place like Grass Island.
We also need to establish the restriction for human using those places. For example, stopping people doing illegal fire camp. That's one of the disasters we are dealing with. Like illegal fire camp is everywhere on the island, not just on Grass Island, but also other country park area or rural places that outside the country park area. People just help themselves to burn the ground, which is one of the causes to the desertification at the moment.
That's Pearl Magazine for this week. Next week, we harvest pearls from Hong Kong waters and take a look at the elderly who want to continue working. Thanks for watching. See you next time.